Yeah.
Because I think if we were to go back in time
Yeah.
and relive our life as a kid, right, you would want to forget some of our fucking like shitty adulting.
Yeah.
You know what
it's
I
like
mean?
reverse Blender years. Like you grow up and you think when you're cringy when you're a kid, but if you went back to a kid, you'd be like, oh, the adult me is a fucking shithead. I need to change that big time, right? Yeah. Erased.
Erased.
Erased. The kingdom of Erased.
A kingdom of Erased. And erased, motherfucker!
It's Erased.
It's not erased. It's Erased.
Yeah. What is it really though?
It's erased.
Okay, I know that.
And what are we?
We
Are
Our
anime.
Shmanime.
Shmanime.
Oh, right. I forgot.
Yes.
Welcome back.
Welcome back, my Shweebs, to another episode of Anime Shmanime.
Yes.
And we are covering
Erased.
I'm gonna regret saying that. I think.
Yeah.
You are.
No, yeah.
No, but that's what it's called now.
Yeah.
I like it better.
Spoiler alert, like always, guys. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. It's actually a really easy watch. It's only like 12 episodes.
It's pretty quick. Yeah. Easy to digest.
Yeah.
Page turner of an anime again.
Yeah.
Like, you just want to keep going with this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is so good. This is so. I remember watching it while it was coming out, and like every episode, I'm like, "Are you fucking kidding me? I gotta wait another week for this."
I would have been really annoyed if I had to wait a week between each episode.
No, but that's okay. So we're gonna get into this. For
You
a
also
second.
just said you would be annoyed.
Yes, but like okay, no, it's like we live in such a huge binge culture.
Yeah, we do.
Right, where it's like you're consuming, but you're not digesting anything. This when
It's true.
you're
right.
When you have an episode and you have to wait a week for it, like it just hits you a little differently.
Yeah.
Than when you're binging this show, right?
It doesn't mean I won't be
chance,
annoyed.
You have a chance to catch yourself thinking about it.
Yeah.
And be like, wow, I'm still thinking about that episode.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
true.
Right. This fucking show's like all trauma, man. Like,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I'll
It
say.
is for sure. Yeah. Yeah. It's basically a film noir Law and Order SVU meets the Butterfly Effect.
No.
Yeah. Did you ever
Nailed
watch
it.
Law and Order SVU?
Nailed it.
Yeah. Thank you. Right.
There's literally a butterfly fluttering around through this whole show.
Literally, and it's about going in the past and changing the future.
Yes.
Right, and
Literally
also
the
like,
butterfly effect.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's also like a detective drama,
Yes.
right? Big time. And SVU specifically was a detective drama about like sexually and abused people, right?
Special
Yes.
victims.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
special victims,
Exactly, yeah. And it does kind of have that noir vibe. It's all kind of that old timey detective drama, right? Everything's kind of like gray and grimy looking the whole way through. Do you know what I mean? I'll say right off the bat, like I went into this with no knowledge at all about what it was about.
Yeah.
Like for all I know, it could have been called Erased. I had no idea anything about it.
Kiru,
Yeah.
Kiru,
Yeah.
and Pufrektaburu.
Yeah.
And
It could be, yeah. Yeah, I went in with nothing. You said watch Erased. I was like, okay, I'm watching Erased. So I had zero.
Yeah.
Zero, which doesn't actually happen a lot with shows. Even not being an anime guy, usually there's something I have going in, right?
Yeah, I mean,
This,
like last episode, we
nothing.
like Death Note, right?
Yeah.
We just talked about how it ruined it for you.
It did, yeah.
Right, like
Yeah.
knowing what's going on.
Well,
really
it ruined it for
overhyped.
itself. That just didn't help.
Fine, fuck.
But in this show, I definitely like within the first few minutes,
Yeah.
right away I was like, oh, I have high hopes for this show.
Yeah.
It right away gives you a vibe that like was kind of like, yeah, meaty, thick. You know what I mean? You know there's going to be a lot going on. And yeah, you hit the nail on the head when you said it's trauma, because this show is about people with trauma.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean?
It also dishes it out to the viewer of the show.
Yeah.
It's hard to watch,
It's
man.
the hurt people concept embodied in 12 episodes, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's not really hurt people because
There is an element in there, though.
There is for sure. I would
Yeah.
agree, but like the main antagonist is
Yeah.
not a good person at all. He's
No.
not hurt. He
may
serial
have
killer.
been.
He
You
hurts
don't,
you.
you don't
Yeah.
get that, but he may have been.
Like-
Anyways,
like-
there were
like,
other
I
elements.
joke that I'm a sadist. This guy
Yeah.
is actually a sadist.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
100%, yeah.
Right. Like,
Yeah.
He's a serial killer.
yeah. He's legitimately a fucking serial killer.
Yeah,
Like,
legitimate,
yeah,
of children.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then one adult later on. So
And then himself.
And then himself, yeah. The other thing about this show is like our main character is carrying like a massive amount of guilt for something that happened way, way, way back in his past, right? So he's not necessarily experienced direct trauma, but he has this like secondary trauma from being around people and horrible things happening and him experiencing it secondhand, right?
Yeah, and like also like at the beginning, it's like his memory is still a little bit fuzzy because he hasn't been able to go back and like
Right.
put the pieces together yet,
Yeah.
or like he just has the guilt of like, oh man, why didn't people listen to me
Yeah.
the first time around?
He's
right?
convinced he could have stopped it, right? And that's literally the like ground floor of the show is he thinks he
Yeah.
could have stopped it. And so eventually he gets to go back and give it another shot.
Yeah.
Which brings me to the next point is that there's a sci-fi element in this show, which is strange for like a noir feeling detective drama. But it was like really cleverly used, not overused. You know what I mean? It was a mechanism that was explained really quickly. You know what I mean? And
But like, okay, I was wondering where you were going to go with this because
yeah.
they don't actually explain the mechanism.
No,
Right? So
they
I'm like,
didn't. But they also
it's magic. So
It is 100%. But again, like
So did
in
you
a
accept the magic?
Yeah, because it wasn't a show about magic, right? It was a
Yeah.
mechanism to bring the plot into my
Yeah.
into my face holes. Do you know what I mean? Like I got to hear and watch this show, and it was a cool twist on a drama show.
Yeah.
And I'll call it a twist because the show wasn't really about magic, right?
No, it wasn't.
If a show's about magic, then you have to give me a groundwork on the magic and how it works.
Yes.
Right. But as a singular mechanism to give me to deliver the plot of the show to me, it worked for me.
Okay.
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 Is that allowed?
Okay. Weird.
Yeah. No, that's cool.
Yeah. No, it's good. It's
That
good.
works for me.
I'm just not used to this, man.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
we're turning Jordy into a weave finally.
I guess so. I feel like this is probably like not a weeby anime though. Am I right about that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would say it's not as weeby as weeby can be.
Yeah.
Right? Because like isekai is the weebiest of weebs.
Yeah. What is the
Yeah.
genre of this one, to be honest with you?
Honestly, I think it's a thriller, horror a little bit.
I don't know. I thought it would have some crazy name.
It's a mystery science fiction thriller.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
fucking
but yeah,
solid.
Overall, I enjoyed it, dude. I enjoyed every second of it. I was like, even like a bunch of edge of my seat moments. Like it
Yeah.
was exciting to watch. You know what I mean?
Now wait for it every fucking week.
That's what I said. I wouldn't like that, dude. I'd be like nervous all the time or like feel weird about it.
At the end, I remember watching this while it was simulcasting, and I'm like, every episode when it ends, I'm just like, are you kidding?
Yeah.
Like I am uncomfortable right now with the way this is going, and I
Yeah.
need to know what's going to happen. I mean, I guess it gets a little bit kind of gimmicky with a lot of shows do this where they end each episode on a cliffhanger.
They do that a lot.
Yeah,
a lot.
right?
And
So-
as a binger, like I watched it kind of like over the course of 2 nights. That didn't have a negative effect on me because again, I'd literally just start the next episode.
Yeah.
So cliffhangers don't really have the same effect.
That's
but
what I'm
as
saying.
an episode per week, I
Yeah.
could feel that like I would start getting angry. You fucking kidding me again now? Right?
yeah, fair enough. Man.
Yeah, that would be annoying. I don't really have much more else to say up top. I enjoyed it. You know what I mean? The trauma as an element and the sci-fi being well done. There's a lot more to say going forward.
Yeah.
But as far as like general thoughts, I think that's all I really want to say up top.
Well, the other thing too is when I was recommending this to you, I was also thinking because you're a dad, right?
We'll get into that too as well, dude, because yeah, man, like the child abuse is
Yeah.
big in this show.
Well, I mean, I know. Like when I was watching this when it
Yeah.
first came out, I was working as a child and youth worker.
I kept
at
thinking
the-
about that. I was watching the show as well too.
yeah, right. Like that. Those are the kids that I worked with.
Yeah.
Right. Like that was my demographic.
Yeah.
And it's just so interesting to see how like the resilience in a lot of these kids, right?
sure, yeah.
Like, and that's why we in the industry we always kind of highlight that. So it's cool to see it in an anime in this kind of way.
Yeah, because I mean, like, again, I don't have the kind of experience that you have, but like, you think like a lot of those kids, if given the right chance, could make something or have changed this situation a little bit for themselves, right? Or have changed their outlook on it, rather, right? And these kids get that chance, and they fucking kill it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there is a lot of like gratifying things that happen at the end there.
A weird like personal perspective about the child abuse that I had is that like there's like two different styles of child abuse in this show, where like one of it is like there's abductions, obviously, and then there's also like direct parent to their child abuse going on. And the parent to the child abuse was like not as devastating for me to watch because it's so far from my reality. Like there's no world in which I see myself abusing my child or my wife abusing my child. But the abduction thing was a little bit more real because I'm like, I have no control over that situation in real life. It's a little scarier to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because you don't. Yeah, exactly that. Because you don't have control over it, right? Like it could happen. There's like that small possibility, right? And it's not like it's unheard of by any means.
No,
right?
That's a real theme in this show because so many times he can control so much of what's going on as far as her safety.
Yeah.
But then there are times when he just has to go home, go to sleep, and hope that he sees her at school the next day.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that's terrifying.
It was stressful to watch.
Yes.
Yeah.
But the other thing though too, like I would say, like as somebody who has worked with families and parents and things like that, it's like you understand that some of these. Like the mom, for example, who's abusing her kid, it's a cycle.
That's why I said hurt people, because in the end you find out like that shit was going down to her with her, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Right, but also the neglect is actually the number one. Like it does more damage than actual physical abuse.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, neglect because there's just so much development that doesn't happen. Right. So, but anyway, this is gonna be a bit of a heavy episode.
Yeah, that's true. It will be a little heavy. Yeah,
but it's a fucking good anime.
Yeah.
So go watch it.
Yeah.
If you haven't already.
Yeah.
I'm assuming you have because if you've made it this far.
So, maybe some people are watching just because they think we're cute.
Yeah, that's also true.
Yeah, probably not though.
No. I like my new toque though.
Yeah, I like it. We're all wearing toques today.
Yeah.
3 Tukey
Cold
boys.
outside.
It is, yeah. Okay, let's get some history. You got something locked and loaded there?
Yeah,
Mr.
I'll give you
Wikipedia?
guys a bit of a background and a little overview.
Let's hear it.
So, Erased, or Erased, as we like to call it.
Can we edit the Wikipedia page?
Known in Japan as
the phonetics of it.
known in Japan as Boku Dake ga Inai Machi, abbreviated as Bokumachi, or the town where only I am missing,
Which is also an element from the show, a theme that comes up over and over again.
is a Japanese manga series written and illustrated by Kei Sanbei. That's the manga. For the anime, that was produced by A1 Pictures and aired on Fuji TV's Noitama programming block from January to March 2016. So the plot, the story follows Satoru Fujinuma, a young man living in Chiba who possesses the ability known as revival that sends him back in time moments before a life-threatening incident, enabling him to prevent it from happening again. When his mother is murdered by an unknown assailant in his own home, Satoru's ability sends him back 18 years into the past, and Satoru is given the opportunity to not only save his mother, but also prevent a kidnapping incident that took the lives of 3 of his childhood friends. A little bit more background on the anime itself. It was simulcast on Crunchyroll, which our boy Mikey knows all about.
Crunchyroll, Funimation, I got that shit on lock.
Yeah, and I also do thanks to you.
Yeah, you're like the anime sugar daddy.
Yeah, you are. Yeah, give me that fix.
The series was directed by Tomohiko Ito and written by Taku Kishimoto with character design by Keigo Sasaki. The opening theme is Re, like R-E-R-E, by Asian Kung Fu Generation, while the ending theme is Sore wa Chisana Hikari no Yuna. The series is licensed in North America by Aniplex of America.
Aniplex.
Yeah, which is another well-known name. And the series received an English dub in May 2016, which I did not watch. I watched the sub.
I too watched the sub.
100%.
Yeah,
I too did.
Sub is way better.
This show I didn't feel like it needed it. to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Not that I even bothered. Like sometimes I like to watch a bit of both and get the
There's
vibes.
Only one anime that gets a dub, and
That's your
it.
opinion.
Fuck you.
I've made some very good arguments for dubs on a couple of our episodes already.
But yeah, that's pretty much about it. Yeah, like we said, a 12 episode OVA, as they like to call them, original video animation.
Yeah, so it's like not quite a full series, so they give it another.
It's like an EP.
Yeah,
Anime.
it's an EP. Yeah. I had a question.
Extended
Oftentimes, when you give us like some of this background, some of the animators have done other things we've watched. Was there nothing else that these guys have done that we've watched or that you guys have watched that was good?
I can't think of it.
Nothing that really comes to mind. So this was done
Is that
by-
kind of rare in the world for there to be like a really good one-off show that's not connected to other good shows?
We probably just don't know.
That's
Yeah,
true.
like this is one of those ones that came out like as far as like the
Fairy Tale,
oh really?
Blue Exorcist,
That's another good one too. Blue Exorcist.
Anohana, Sword
Yeah.
Art Online.
Yes.
There you go.
Okay, there you go.
Silver Spoon.
No, it is no, because Silver Spoon was the girl who made Full Metal.
I'm just saying this is the A1 Pictures animation studio.
so it's
okay.
the
I was
studio,
gonna say
yeah.
the studio.
It's not the writer.
No,
and-
I was gonna
okay.
say. I was like, there's no way.
the writer of the manga. Is that what you guys are talking about?
I was just asking in
Yeah,
general
yeah.
if there were connections. I don't know.
because the studio A1 is huge, right? Like
That's what I mean.
Yeah. And I was like, when you started naming off those titles, I'm like, there's no way that this writer did all of those.
Because the
I'm
question
like,
would
there's-
pertain
like,
there's a manga writer, but
Yeah.
then there's also the anime director, producer,
Okay.
writers as well, right?
Right,
Which
right,
are
right.
adapting the manga. So it's like,
Right.
who are you talking about? Really?
I wasn't sure. I was just
Yeah.
asking if there were connections, I guess, because usually
Probably.
you bring them up,
Yeah.
and it
Yeah.
turns out there were. So
Yeah.
at least in this,
At least in the
house.
production house,
Yeah.
this is a huge production house that tackled this.
Yeah,
tackled
yeah.
this.
Cool.
Yeah, A1's a big one.
Interesting.
Well, I
like
mean,
the steak
there's
sauce.
They're all they're all so
So we know what Jordy's thinking about.
I'm more
right
of a
now.
57 guy, though. I know it's trashy, but I
Yeah.
prefer it.
No, HP.
it says steak right here.
Does
Steak-
it?
Steak sauce.
Sloppy
They want-
steaks?
Sloppy steaks.
Sloppy Joe.
Okay, erased, made by A1 steak sauce. Okay, let's move on to talk about the world. It's Japan.
It's
Welcome
Japan.
back.
It's
Welcome
Japan.
back.
It's got a little bit of a then and now vibe, right?
Well,
But
I
they
mean, it's
both-
also got like 80. What was it? 87 when he went back as far as 87?
yeah, you don't get a lot of 1987, or you don't get a lot of the time
Yeah.
in either of the places. It's just very like
It's
very
I mean, it's
just
the
Japan.
school
It's just a
and-
real
yeah.
world, yeah. So
Yeah,
not much to
for
talk about
sure.
there.
No.
Moving on to art.
Yeah.
The art is another one of these shows where it's like that typical modern style of anime, and it's great, not groundbreaking. You know what I mean? Nothing above, nothing below the
you
line.
know what though? I really think this art style, particularly compared to someone like the isekais, like
Sure.
I always compare it because isekais are fucking oversaturated everywhere.
Oh, sure.
But
Yeah.
it's I feel like it's much cleaner. It's very, very clean.
It did feel clean to me. I'll give you that. Yeah,
right? It's
And
very polished.
They had that nice, like, kind of line drawn foregrounds and like almost painted backgrounds, and the backgrounds were nice to look at. The other thing I'll say is there was definitely like a style and a vibe of everything you're looking at. I said
Yeah.
earlier, everything's kind of gray and dreary, like all over the place, and then there's like little pops of color when they need it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Which I thought was clever.
Yeah, like I mean, at the end where he's kind of recovering while he's in the wheelchair, like
Yeah.
you know, you have those pops of color that like really kind of bring
For sure.
a bit more vibrancy and
Yeah.
like, life into him, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
We also see some red eyes.
We do see some
Yeah.
red
The
eyes.
Return of the,
The
red
red
eyes. They're back again.
Yeah.
In yet another show.
Yeah.
And he gets them too, right?
Does he get them? I don't remember that. I believe you.
What's
I-
the main character's name again? Fucking
Satoru?
Satoru. Yeah.
I am senpai.
You man.
Careful now.
Hey, I know.
Yeah. When he
Gotta
gets,
take the wins where I
yeah,
get 'em.
when he gets like really angry.
Yeah.
When any character in this show gets really angry.
Yeah.
They get the red eyes.
Okay, interesting.
So it doesn't matter that it's the killer. It doesn't matter that it's the mom.
Whoever, yeah.
Whoever. It's like it's that
Crazy eyes.
Yeah, crazy eyes
Yeah.
come out.
Yeah.
Anytime that emotion comes. right?
Interesting.
I do feel like when he walks by him as he's coming home to his apartment after
Yeah.
his mom's been killed.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
he's
yeah.
looking under
Yeah.
the brim of his hat.
Totally.
And you see that red eye peeking
You get
out.
it again when he.
I do think that was definitely to like suggest a
Yeah.
Yeah.
malevolence there.
for sure.
you
Actually,
know?
that kind of like section of his face becomes the giveaway in the end too, because then when you do finally see him, it's a zoom in on his face and he makes that face, and he's done it a couple times. There was another one where there was like I can't remember which scene it was. There was a bunch of police around.
Yeah, he's
and in the
standing there
background
in
he's
the
standing there with the
umbrella.
umbrella covering just from the middle of his eyes up.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you see that same facial expression, the same red eyes, and that's when he realizes.
Well, that's the giveaway if you didn't already know it was him.
But
We'll get
even
to
in that
that.
scene, I didn't.
We'll get to that.
Well, we already told you guys, fucking spoiling everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Music. The intro sequence in the show was fucked, dude. For this show.
Why?
It's so happy and like good vibes. And it should have been like the theme song for Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You know what, though?
It's so light.
I find that with a lot, it's like a weird repeating theme for
Yeah.
like dark animes to have this weird bubbly intro music.
It made me feel kind of gross because they would show me something
Yeah.
really disturbing and sad.
Yeah.
And then immediately afterwards give me this bop. I'm like, I don't want a bop right now.
You know what? I
Yeah.
feel like it's a psychological tactic, an art choice, because you know they're putting you into the trenches and then trying to pull you back out to level you out a little bit.
It just reminded me how deep in the trenches I was. Is what it did, to be honest with you. It was very strange, to
Yeah.
be honest with you. That's the only note I have about music. It's just another show where the music was just like complimented the show fine, I guess, like background music. But that intro theme was just out of place, man.
Yeah, that's okay though. But
Yeah.
you know what's also really great about this fucking anime is
Oh, what's really great about this anime, Mikey? Tell me, please.
God damn it! No. You know what? You fucking do it this time. You fucking do
You know
it.
what's
this
really
time.
great about this anime when you're feeling out of place is you can always just make Mikey feel really dumb. And then when he's feeling really dumb about himself, you can go on your computer and you can, click like and subscribe or leave us a comment.
You got me.
Yeah.
Okay, I can't be on every episode.
No, you definitely cannot.
No, I can't.
But it's fun for us.
Listen, you two. We're getting off the point, and the point is
Yeah.
to go home and get on your
Yes.
computer and share, like, subscribe,
Yes.
help us out any way you can.
Yeah,
please.
tell
Or
a
do
friend.
it on your phone. You don't even have to be home on your computer.
Yeah. Someone you know will think we're cute.
I hope so.
Yeah. Anyways, we love you guys.
Anyways, yeah.
Let's move on and start talking about characters.
'Kay.
We'll start talking about Satoru right off the bat.
Yeah.
So I found something really interesting about him right off the bat is that he's a guy essentially with superpowers, because before his revival sends him way back in time to like go on this mission, it's essentially giving him the ability to like just save a random person.
Yeah.
That's how he explains it, right? Which to me, that's a superpower. So he's kind of like a superhero, but he's like depressed.
Yeah.
The way he describes it at the beginning, he's like, yeah, I get this revival. And then, I go back in time 5 minutes and there's something wrong and I got to find what's wrong. And then I save that person and then back to my regular life.
Go back to pizza life.
Yeah, exactly.
But the thing is, like, it's a superpower, but it's the fact that he doesn't have control of it.
Yeah.
That makes it depressing, and also the fact that
it sounds like it's taxing on him. Like it's
Yeah.
hard for him to have it.
right, like
Yeah.
like imagine, like, I don't have control of this superpower to go back in time, and sure, yeah, I'm obviously gonna go do the right thing and try to save a person if I can figure it out.
Yeah. But also
Because-
like, I didn't ask for this.
yeah, I didn't ask
Yeah.
for this, right? Like, if I had control, it'd be different.
I couldn't think of another example of a character with superpowers who had that kind of mentality towards them. I mean, I'm not as deep in the nerd trenches as you two, but like I legit couldn't think of an example of that.
Well, I mean, it's an archetype, right? It's the reluctant hero.
Yeah.
Right, that's who he is. Like
Yeah.
any leader, like isn't a good leader is the one that doesn't want to be a leader. He
Yeah.
leads by
The only,
Sure,
one,
sure.
the only one coming to mind that we haven't got to yet that we will eventually get to with him would be Saitama.
Oh yeah, but he's like just straight up satire though.
For sure,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
like he has that attitude where he's
Yeah.
like incredibly OP, but he's kind of just like,
Yeah,
like I guess
It's not exciting.
Yeah.
Like I
Like,
still have to go get groceries. you
yeah,
know?
and
Bring my
but
groceries home.
he's excited about the sales at the grocery store.
right. Yeah, yeah,
And has that Opie sweater.
Yeah,
that he loves.
right. But we'll get to that show.
Okay.
One Punch
Yeah.
Man. You'll like
Okay.
that one.
Yeah. Punch!
I can't wait, guys. But yeah, I liked it. It felt a little bit of reality being pumped into the show. Like that could be a real person who has that power. You know what I mean? And it felt refreshing because it was like a new take on someone who has this ability, right?
Yeah, and also the nice thing too is that like you see the whole fact that he's trying to be this manga artist and kind of make it in the world, and like the grind gets so hard and it gets him down.
He felt really real and really relatable as a character, and I liked that about him. And I liked the way that once he realized what he was able to do, like once he realized what his like mission was on going back in the past, he got this like drive in him that changed his character, right? Like he went from being the like depressed kind of kid with this power he didn't ask for like, oh, now I know what I have to do, and it's like my entire life's purpose now is to do this, right? And I dug that. That was kind of cool.
Yeah, and then he finds that fire.
Yeah.
Right? Like
Exactly,
to
yeah.
live life. There's a quote, I think, that said, if you live your life as if it's always a second chance, you know, you take more care and you're about to do it. Like,
Sure.
he actually gets it.
Yeah, and also like he's been living with that grief we talked about, right? That guilt of the situation that occurred in and around him that he wasn't able to do anything about, and I'm sure that's been weighing on him. Now he's like, wait a minute, you mean like I might get to get rid of that? Okay, let's fucking go, right? So that was kind of a cool character choice. There were some gags they gave him that I thought were unnecessary.
Like what?
Like, oh, did I say that out loud?
Oh,
There was a lot of that.
Those little quirks are funny.
Once or
They're
twice,
fine.
it was a few too many for me.
No, I love them, especially
can.
like when he calls his mom a witch or like
Yeah.
a bakemono.
Yeah, I like
the
that
witch
too.
thing was
Yeah.
very good. I
I
liked the
liked
witch.
that too.
I liked
Yeah.
the witch thing better
Yeah.
than I liked the. Did I just say that out loud?
Yeah, and the other one that bothered me was like when he was hanging out with Kaio and he was young, he kept saying like, "Get a grip, you're 29," and I was
Yeah.
like, "Okay, we get it. Stop saying it. Like I get it already."
But I think that's also a good way to remind himself that like, he gets lost in being back as a child too,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And to bring him back out from being a child because he's not.
Yeah.
Because I think if we were to go back in time,
Yeah.
and relive our life as a kid, right? You would want to forget some of our fucking like shitty adulting.
Yeah.
You know what
it's
I
like
mean?
reverse Blender years. Like you grow up and you think when you're cringy when you're a kid, but if you went back to a kid, you'd be like, oh, the adult me is a fucking shithead. I need to change that big time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I just didn't think this show needed gags like that, to be honest with
I thought they added a bit of charm to
you.
it.
Maybe.
You're just a fucking curmudgeon, man.
Maybe I am. Yeah, maybe I am. I like hanging out with you guys, though, so don't hate me because I have my opinions.
I love you.
Thanks, I appreciate it. I actually have a
yourself.
theory about... I actually have a theory about when he's in his child, like when he's like his 29-year-old adult in this child brain, that he actually can't be fully a 29-year-old brain, right? They don't really address it, but like when he's a kid, he's too good at being a kid for him to actually just be a 29-year-old brain in a kid's body. To me, it felt like there's got to be some sort of blending of what's going on there. It felt like that anyhow.
So maybe that was the mechanism for him to try to always remind himself that he's 29,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Because that's the thing. Like, is his brain, like the way that he's developing, like biologically, right, affecting his memory, affecting his behaviors, affecting all of that stuff?
Well,
right?
he could have the memory, but it still has to be processed through a 9-year-old's brain at the end of the day. So
Totally.
there's going to be a broken telephone situation going on, possibly.
Yeah,
Well,
your
and the
prefrontal
other-
cortex isn't fucking fully developed until like you're 25, right? Like,
So your 29-year-old, like, it's not even brain. It's like your 29-year-old spirit can
Yeah.
only do so much with that like 11-year-old brain, right?
Yeah.
That's what you're saying. Anyways,
Anyways,
kind of neat.
yeah. Very cool
He's also a
mechanic.
great time traveler because I would spill the beans so quick. I would tell someone right away, like, I'm from the future. It's like, you guys don't even understand what's going to happen.
There's a
iPhones
few
and shit.
times that I thought he was going to where he doesn't say
he doesn't.
it.
No, he even like lets the guy in on what his plan is at one point without telling him like I'm from the future.
Yeah, I know, and it's just like this plan might be actually more believable if you just said you were from the future, but he still holds back.
Yeah,
He's
he
like,
kept
"I'm not
finding
gonna say it."
crafty ways to get people's help without spilling the beans. Whereas me, I'd be like, yo, I need your help for a second. I'm from the future. Okay. I know what's going to go down. And they'd be like, you're crazy. You're on your own.
Yeah.
And then I wouldn't have been able to save my friend.
Yep.
That's how that would have gone down.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, also too, right? You got to think of how good of a person he is to focus on exactly just that, right? Like a lot of people probably wouldn't be focusing on like saving somebody. They'd be focused on like, oh shit, this actually happened. I could relive my life. I know how to fucking invest in stocks. I'm gonna fucking
I know what the
make
lottery
shit-
numbers are gonna be tomorrow.
I'm
Yeah,
gonna be right, like super selfish.
Yeah.
And I guess to a degree too, it's selfish for him to want to save everybody, but like at the same time, it's like that noble selfishness.
That's an interesting
right?
theme too, because you're right. He is doing it to save them, but because you know how he's lived his life up from that moment up until when he revivals back, you know that there's got to be an element of like, I need to get rid of this from my life, right? So there's like part selfishness and part like, hey, my friends got abducted and they shouldn't have, you know what I mean? Like, there's both those elements there.
He's righteous, but he does have a bit of a savior complex going on.
Yeah, for sure.
100%.
For sure. Yeah, absolutely. That's a great way to sum it up. Let's talk about his mom now.
I love his mom.
Dude, she's just a hot mom living her life.
Yeah.
At the very beginning, dude.
Sachiko.
Right away when you meet her, you're like, who's this fucking bitch, man? Yeah. And she's like way too hot to be his mom. Yeah. And she's just like, like way too cool. You know what I mean?
It's
she's like drinking and smoking and
the
like
new Aunt May, right?
Yeah.
She's like making dope curry.
Yeah. So yummy.
Yeah. She's like, I'm stealing your bed. Sorry. She stays up drinking and watching TV all night, right?
Yeah, takes the futon, takes the TV.
But what was interesting about that is like that also wasn't her character all the way through, right? That just said to me that she's cool, like to me, you know what I mean? Like maybe not to him when he was 29, but that says to me that she's always just kind of been cool, right? Which she ended up turning out to be.
Yeah, absolutely.
I also think that she might actually have been a witch. Do you know what I mean? Because of all the times he mentions she's a witch, it's usually like she says something that like was reading her mind. Like she knows what's going on.
Yeah.
All the time, right?
But that's the thing, right? Like, I mean, she's a journalist.
That was clever too,
right? So having that journalist instinct and like reading between the lines and figuring things out. Also, we know for a fact that parents aren't nearly as like oblivious to the things that are happening to their kids.
That is true too,
right? Like they know, they see that, right?
Yeah.
Personally, like my mom has superpowers. Like my mom has like supernatural.
Are you
powers.
sure she's not a witch though?
She very well might be.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying, like, I think this is just also just a play on like the mom magic that exists in the world.
And it was great, and it worked out well too because not only does she do that in little funny moments, but then also she ends up doing it in a very real way, where there's like a bunch of time where she shows up and bails the kids out, or is like coming to the rescue. Do you know what I mean? So there was layers to that, and he wasn't calling her a witch then. You know what I mean?
He's thanking his lucky stars.
Exactly. Yeah. Also, like, why were her lips like that?
I knew you were gonna bring it up.
It was so distracting, man.
Why? What was wrong with
They were like, it was like a donut stuck to the front of her face.
They animated her lips kind of weird, dude.
No. I think they gave her like full voluptuous lips because they were trying to make her a little bit more attractive, and it had that kind of like Jessica Rabbit vibe in that way.
Maybe it looked to me like did not look real. They looked like they wanted to imply to me that she's getting Botox every day.
Mikey, I think you're right for sure in what they were trying to accomplish.
Just
with
poorly
them.
executed.
I just think this style of anime and the style of face animation, it just doesn't lend itself to giving somebody really full lips like that.
Yeah, it looked weird. It looked weird.
It
was distracting to me. Like every time she came on the screen, I was like, the lips. And to be honest with you, if it wasn't, I wouldn't have written the note. I might have thought once about it and moved on. But every time they show her face, I was like, what the fuck is?
She's a waifu, man. She's straight up waifu.
You think so?
She's waifu? Oh, yeah.
I thought waifu had to have their tits hanging out.
No, waifu
all
is
of yours
just
do,
waifu.
though.
Well, I mean, yeah.
But this is as close as he can get in this show.
Yeah,
okay?
actually, if this was your waifu, I would respect you more.
It is a waifu. She is total waifu material.
How many are you allowed to have?
One per show.
One per show.
Oh, is that the rule?
Well, it is for Mikey.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
One per show if they have if they have one that qualifies as a waifu for me.
Okay, as in like they're all of age.
Yes.
Yeah.
And human.
And human.
Yeah.
Well,
even
I
that
mean,
probably you pick
demons.
some non-humans.
Demons.
I know you did. Yeah.
No comment.
Okay. Oh man. Anyways, lips are weird. The other character I would think is worth talking about a little bit was Kaio. Because the way they wrote her as like an abused child with like child depression was so well written. Like
heartbreaking.
It was so real. Like I don't really know a child who has gone through that, but as I'm watching, I was like, that's exactly what it feels like it would be like.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, like
it was all appropriate.
Yeah, like it like as far as how like it presents itself, I think they did a great job writing her character and how it presented herself. So, but like again, depending on the kid, right? Usually, like I'm generalizing here, but like if it was a guy, you would see a lot more anger,
Yeah.
right, from the kid, right?
Could be, yeah. Some lashing out or something,
lashing
yeah.
out and things
Yeah.
like that. But like again, it presents itself in all different ways, and there's a
Yeah.
whole bunch of different red flags you can like look for.
They just really leveled up her level of like being subdued because of what she's going through, and it felt really true to form. To
Yeah.
me. Yeah.
Well, not to mention, it's like she's still a kid who still wants to love her mom,
Yeah.
and struggles with that internally. Like, you know, I have to deal with all this craziness, and like I don't want to be with her, and I think my life would be better, but at the same time, like she's still my mom.
Yeah, she has that
Right?
like essay she writes. Do you remember where she's like, I kind of dream about going away because then I think about this place without me, which again is the Japanese title. She's like, I think about this town without me and it brings me comfort because she doesn't really know how to fix the situation. She's like, and this is the sad thing is in the end, you think, well, maybe if I'm gone, then just everything will be better for everyone else, right? Because there's like a blame complex.
Oh yeah.
So sad, man. This
Yeah.
show, there were some sadness levels that were like almost too much to handle. And she's like the main element of it.
Oh yeah.
It was hard.
Yeah, for sure.
It was hard.
For sure.
The other character that we could talk about a little bit is the main bad guy, whose name I always forget. So I'm just going to call him main bad guy.
Senpai.
Gaku.
Yeah,
Gaku.
I was calling him teacher dude for a bit. So like,
Yeah.
but then later on I felt
But
bad.
you hate that fucker.
When you find out that it's him, and this is something that's weird because like the twist, like when they give it to you, I had only just clued in when they gave it to you.
Yeah.
Whereas Jay and I talked a little bit ago, and Jay's like, I knew so early. Did you know early on?
Yeah. Well, I had inklings.
I had nothing.
I had some inklings
Until the candy fell out of his car, I had
Yeah,
nothing.
Well, there's that too, right?
Yeah.
But it just seemed like the inklings that I got was just that he just seemed way too involved, and he just seemed way too like also dismissive at the same time with
Yeah.
certain things, right?
Okay.
Like, I mean, yeah, it was just odd.
That's what Jay said too. Jay
Yeah,
said he's
so-
just too interested in this kid and what's going on, right?
So I figured it out. Like he was my number one suspect from the very moment I saw him, even down to his character design. And this
You said-
sounds really minor and not important, but I actually think it is the actual shade of black they chose for his hair versus the black of Satoru's hair and his mom's hair. It was different. It was a purer, darker black and
blacker,
less of
yeah.
a blue. Okay, which automatically was just like that's a choice. And then some of his features were a little sharper. And just a little bit more pointed in some ways compared to other characters. Not only that, he was almost always dressed in black. And when he was sitting in his office, in his counselor's office or whatever, he was almost always half shadowed. The way the lighting
I
was
didn't
coming
notice any
in
of
from
that
the
shit.
windows behind him,
Yeah.
he was almost always a little bit cast into shadow whenever Satoru was talking to him.
Yeah.
And every time they were talking, I just got this vibe where he's sitting back in this position where he can collect information freely, openly, and without suspicion from this child. Nobody suspects him. And then there was also so many occurrences that were happening where whoever was doing something had to know certain information.
Yeah.
And this guy had it. He was the
Yeah.
only character up to that point who had it. So he was my number one suspect from the moment I saw him. So unfortunately, when the fucking candy drops out of his glove box,
Yeah.
I was just like, yeah, I know. Like,
Yeah.
let's go.
See, and I'm a perfect mark for someone writing this show.
Yeah.
Because I'm just absorbing the show the way they want me to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then when the candy came out, I was like, what? Really? I was like, it's him? And then I'm like, are they just want me to think it's him or is it him? And like within that episode happens the reveal. Because as the candy falls out, I was like, if it's him and they don't give it to me till the last episode, I'm gonna be mad because I called this way in advance, is what I thought,
It
right?
happened to me.
But then exactly. But then meanwhile, they give it to me right away, and I was like, well done. But Jay experienced
I'm
what I
jealous.
didn't want to happen to me.
I'm
yeah,
jealous
yeah.
because you know what? Listen, I loved so much about this show, but unfortunately, I think part of this show's appeal and power hinges on you not knowing who that killer
Yeah.
is. And I knew who it was for too much of this show.
Yeah.
So that whole aspect of the show hit me flat.
That's a bummer.
Yeah.
I feel bad for
I
you.
was far more into. Is he going to be able to change the future enough?
Yeah.
Are the things that he's doing going to be enough to amount to the change that he wants to see actuate
Yeah.
in the future? That's what I was locked
Well, and
into.
that's
the
the-
who done it aspect of
Yeah.
who the killer is. I couldn't have fucking cared less because I knew who it was right
Well,
away.
stop being so fucking perceptive.
I know. I sound so fucking douchey being like, oh, I fucking knew it. I'm smart.
Yeah, but Bruce Willis was dead all along.
Yeah. But no, I'm not trying to be like that. Like, I wish I didn't pick it up. I wish it wasn't my top suspect because I didn't want to know.
But you know what, though?
I
You
know.
make good points, though. Like, artistically, with like him being like a little bit more in shadow, the darker
A little
stuff.
pointier. In retrospect, it's there for you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. Like, I mean, that's probably all trying to subconsciously put that in your mind.
Yeah.
In the back, where it just
Yeah.
kind of feels off, but you're just not quite there yet.
Also,
Yeah.
I think like the main red herring was June. Obviously, he was the one they actually wanted to be the red herring.
Yeah.
Which
yeah.
is-
and he was, and I knew that's one thing I knew right away. I was like, well, it's not that guy.
Right.
Yeah.
But they play with you to be like, well, maybe it is that guy.
Yeah.
Like they're like everybody thinks it's this guy, but
Yeah.
you at home watching, we know it's not that guy.
What's
But
funny
then
is, like-
later on they're like, well, maybe it is.
Yeah.
And they're trying to do that to throw you off of Gaku. And
Yeah.
I was just like, nah, sorry, it's not working.
A weird thought process I had was like, it has to be someone I've met already. And so I'm listing off people. I was like, okay, well, it's June, but I know it's not him. It can't be any of the moms. I was like, that's it. There's no one else. It never occurred to me, man. Never occurred to me. I guess I'm a fucking idiot. Is what it comes down to.
No, you're just too trusting, man.
But I'm glad that happened because
Yeah.
it ended up making the show a really enjoyable experience.
Yeah.
to me. Yeah.
That's
Which
good.
Probably makes you guys happy.
Yeah,
'cause
it
you
makes
like when
me
I like
happy.
you like when I like these
Yeah,
shows.
yeah.
Yeah. Even though your score will probably be higher than mine on this one. I think.
Yeah, which has that happened?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Beck.
Oh yeah, you're right. Oh yeah, you're right. Oh yeah, that one.
That which shall not be named.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Okay, let's move on into the plot now. Unless there's any other characters that's worth mentioning. I didn't know.
Well, his
those.
best friend,
Irie. I liked Irie.
Yeah, she was a weird one, man, because I don't know. I feel like getting into her is more of a plot thing than a character thing. Because
Sure.
she's
we
fine.
can wait. We'll get to it.
Okay,
Sure.
yeah.
Sure.
Okay, so let's start. The show opens up with like an ominous vibe, like I said, and I'm digging it, right? And then there's like a sparkly butterfly that flies by, and I was like right away, I was like, okay, something's happening. He's gonna have a premonition or something, and then they tell us about revival, like within the first 5 minutes of the show, and he saves that kid from getting smashed by a truck, right? That the first two revivals are interesting because the first one he saves that kid from getting hit by a truck, and the second one's more ambiguous. He's with his mom in the parking lot of the grocery store, and she obviously doesn't know what's happening to him, and he's like, "Mom, do you see anything weird going on right now?" And they're looking around, right? And they he can't see anything, but she sees that weirdo trying to take a little girl away. And because he didn't actually do anything to stop it, but by saying that to his mom and them just looking around, the dude got suspicious and left the kid behind, right? So that was a really strange revival for me. It didn't fit the way they explained it typically happening, but I liked that, right? I didn't want him just to be like, hey, you don't steal that kid.
Well, and I think that's the thing. Like when we talked about like our Kill a Kill episode, right? Where they gave you kind of like Monster of the Week for the first few episodes.
Yeah.
Right? Where this one, it wasn't like Revival of the Week.
Yeah,
for first,
absolutely.
It was just like fucking, okay,
You're
this
right.
is the mechanism. Let's go. This is the actual story.
Because if he had gone and like saved that kid, I would be like, okay, I already know how that works.
Yeah.
But it was cool that they gave me like a little another way that it worked. Something else, right? That happened. That was cool. And then like really quickly after that, his mom just gets dead. Like so quickly.
Stab,
Yeah.
stab.
Yeah,
Stab,
so
stab.
quickly. It's like, and she had just figured something out, and like we're not sure yet. I think I don't know if they said earlier what it was that she figured out.
So what she said was, she knows who the kidnapper was because it happened. She thinks it was the same person from back in the day.
Yeah.
Right, and her and her journalist colleague or whatever was going to give the information and meet and whatnot.
That's right. Yeah. Anyways, like literally as she's figuring it out, she dies and she goes to try and phone him. You know what I mean? And it just doesn't work out. She's dead.
That was a hard scene to watch.
It was like so quick too. Do you know what I mean? So early in the show for something like that to happen. I was not expecting things like that to happen in the show. And it didn't keep happening. It was just a way to like just shock you right. Like it was a hook.
Yeah.
It hooked you into the show, right? And then Satoru passes right by him on the hallway and they like have this weird like eye to eye, right? And the guy's like, and then he walks in and he sees his mom's dead, and it was crazy. And now he's a suspect, so he's got to run away, right?
Yeah, because the fucking neighbor comes by and like,
and he's got blood on his hands, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So dumb.
So dumb. Because also, and then he runs, and like in a real life situation, like don't run because you know you didn't do it, and that's gonna be able to be proven.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I think the other thing too is like they needed to set up his arc in that way because he panics.
And him being on the run, you're right, is important to the plot,
Yeah.
right? He has to be on the run for a little while, right?
Yeah.
So then really quickly also he gets another revival and he's in 1988.
Yep.
Right. So, and that's all the first episode. Right. And I know that the series is short, but the first episode really did a good job of being like, here's your show.
Yep.
Here it is on a plate. This is what you're going to have to deal with. Right.
This is it.
Yeah. Themes, characters, the vibes, and even the main mechanism, like everything, and the plot, right?
Well, also, like, you see that in the pacing. Like, it's a 12-episode anime.
Yeah.
There's no time to waste.
Yeah.
We're getting into this shit.
Yeah.
And we're going to fucking get through it
And
real
I
quick.
appreciate that because, as we know, I hate when things drag.
It's probably my favorite episode count.
12?
12.
I would
Yeah,
love
12.
more 12 episode shows just so you guys know. Like, I would love that. Yeah.
No, man. There's some other slow burns. Like I love a good 24 episode
Yeah.
season where they pack it up nice and neat, and like it's long enough that you get invested a little bit more.
Sure. Yeah.
Like this one, like there's some really good character development, but there's not as much investing in those same characters in the same way or getting attached to them in the same way.
I do agree. I think I wouldn't have wanted a single episode more of this show.
Yeah, I think
I don't
they
think so.
did a really good job.
Yeah.
Just
Because
being
think
12
about
episodes.
think about what this show would have been like if it was 24 episodes.
Yeah, no, I
Like
don't-
how many
yeah.
more revivals would we have had to experience? You know what I mean?
I need to be talking to my therapist about this show.
That's true too.
By
Yeah.
the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true too. Okay, so episode 2 starts in a really interesting way too, right? Because he's in 1988. He goes into class and they're reading off the attendance, and they start saying here, here, and so that word starts popping up here, 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 and he goes here, here. Why am I here?
Yeah.
I love when they did that. They did that in Perfect Blue too, right? There was a line that I wish I could fucking remember.
Oh,
She says this line in one scene, and then it keeps
Yeah,
getting said, and then it all of a sudden is important.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
I remember. I know which line you're talking about. It's like who am I? Or
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Or yeah, I think it was Who Am I?
something-
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. Anyways, really fucking cool way to
Yeah.
start an episode. And then we get that essay from Kaio because now he knows kind of what's going on, and he like is all brazen and like walks right up to her and starts talking to this girl, which like he would have never have done his first round, right? And he's reading her essay, That a Town Without Me essay that she writes was really kind
But
of cool.
he only read that essay because his sidekick, right, his buddy, who plays a huge part in all of this.
Yeah. Which
right?
one? Kenya?
Yeah, the blonde hair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kenya.
Yeah.
I remember the names because I am senpai.
Yo, senpai, what do you have to say for that?
No,
About
I'm
that.
letting him take this one, man.
I need
This is
the
his bit. He
W's.
loves the show, so he's got his shit, man.
Thank you very much. Okay, so he remembers how the abductions occurred,
Yeah.
and we get more details now that he's back there. He's like, oh yeah, there's this, and oh yeah, there's this, which is cool because that's also very real because our memories are so limited. And now he's back in that world, and there's so many more triggers for him to remember the shit that went down, right?
Well, I mean, that's the other thing too, right? Like when you think about how our memories work.
Yeah.
And we talk about this in another podcast that I don't release.
Yeah.
But how we
Another podcast that I don't release is a funny thing to say.
Yeah, I guess that's
so
to
casually.
people who don't know what it is.
yeah, to people who do, I have another podcast, but I don't release.
You'll never see it.
You'll never see it.
You don't want to.
But, yeah, but it's like it. But the idea is that we, even though we've experienced the same, like whatever, like time together,
Yeah.
we remember it differently.
Well, dude,
Right.
I've heard it explained as like our memories are actually like experiencing our memories happening over and over again, right?
Yeah.
So we're not actually, our memories aren't actually direct memories of the thing. They're memories of remembering the thing. And then
Yeah.
the next one is a memory of remembering the remembering of the thing, right?
Yeah.
And so each time it gets a little bit more removed and your brain can twist and change and drop and add, right?
We kind of, but the other thing too is like humans are so egocentric that we kind of warp it to fit our own perceived version of ourselves,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Right. So like we always make ourselves the main character of the story.
Yeah, 100%.
Right, so-
absolutely. Yeah, that's for sure. And so it's neat that he gets an opportunity to not have that anymore, right? He gets to go right back into the thick of it and remember it as truthfully as it possibly can. So really quickly, actually, too, right after that, he finds her in the shed.
Yeah.
which is a crazy scene because then that's like our intro to the abuse factor, right? And it's just like a downward spiral of sadness from that point onward. It's a dark scene, right?
Are you sure you weren't happy throughout this whole?
No, I was not happy. I was not happy. I'm happy now that I don't have to watch it and that I get to talk about it because it really was brilliant.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? In a lot of ways, but it was hard to watch, as a lot of brilliant pieces of art are, right? So yeah, her mom comes out and you get an intro to her and she's like so brazen about it, right? She's so brash. She's like, she's like basically tells him to get the fuck out of there.
Yeah.
And she takes the child that she basically just said like, yeah, I beat her up.
Yeah.
And she takes that child in her arm and brings her inside. And you're like, is this really happening right now?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
It's like, tell him what happened. Tell him what happened. Well, I fell.
Yeah.
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 Right? Gets her to life, or like
Absolutely.
and then starts like dousing her in cold water to get the bruises to go down.
yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Cause she's got to go to school.
yeah.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Right?
It's fucking crazy. So yeah, basically it's in and around this area where he makes the vow. He's like, oh, I'm going to save her.
Yeah.
Like, that's why I'm back here. I'm going to save her, right? I'm going to do everything I possibly can. So he starts bonding with her, right? And he's like, he knows because he remembers now. He's like, oh yeah, she always stood in that park by herself. And that's why she got abducted, because she was there alone, right? He's like, well, I'll just never let her be by herself. And so there's this like, he's like literally like, and she's happy for it because she's like depressed and lonely and she's only exists in her own head, right? So there's an element of her that's enjoying it. There is a weird scene where they're like running through the forest and a bunch of foxes are running circles around them. I assume there's some symbolism in that, but I don't quite understand what the symbolism was. It was just kind of like,
No, because what happens is like I think a lot of those weird little memories are how he remembers them happening when the first time around, because that's what happened to him. But he sees that the change is happening because now it's happening again, but with her.
Yeah.
Or like the memories are still happening, but in a slightly different way. So he feels like it's either changing in a good direction or it's actually still on track to be a bad outcome.
yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So,
Fair enough.
But
I
the
don't know.
significance of the foxes themselves could definitely be symbolic to like Japanese culture.
yeah, absolutely.
Probably.
Yeah.
Foxes are very much idolized
Sure.
and worshipped there for various
Yeah.
reasons.
Yeah.
So there's probably some symbology there as to why there were foxes and why there were, I think, two.
Two foxes. They
Two.
did explain. He did say there's two of them. They're a pair because now he's perceiving him and Kaio to be a pair. That's how he's living his life.
Foxes
Right?
mate for life.
Yeah. So that was interesting. Just like a weird scene. And then there's that weird lunch money scandal, which at first I was like, what's happening here? But it becomes super important because that fucking bitch who pulls that shit, she becomes an integral part of revealing who the killer is later on. And I still am not sure if it was
She
her.
gets fucking set up.
Even from this point though, right? Like the whole lunch money scandal, was that him?
No, I don't think so. I think the only reason why she became that, like the part of the scandals and whatnot, is because of that. That was the catalyst to help ostracize her.
But I think he did that on purpose. Here, let me explain why. Okay, because Satoru was supposed to have the lunch money.
Yes.
He goes in his bag. He can't find it, right?
Yeah.
And the girl's like, one of our bags has it. It's in her bag. It's in Nakayo's bag, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, and the girl's like, well, she stole it, right?
Yeah.
But meanwhile, the teacher then goes, no, it was Kaio's day.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking that the teacher set it up to give the money to Kaio.
Two birds stoned at once. He saves face and defends her in that moment and makes himself look like a good guy.
But he
it
also-
totally plays into his favor.
He knew someone was going to jump up and ostracize themselves by being like, that person stole shit.
That's right.
Yeah, right? So, like, again, they don't explain that, but it seemed to me, because of how crafty this fucker is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
He
And
is,
how-
he is a crafty motherfucker. Yeah.
It further ostracized that girl.
Yeah.
By him backing Kaio in that moment.
Yeah.
absolutely.
It further pushed her to the outskirts.
Yeah, exactly.
And he knew that was going to happen.
Of course.
Because he's a fucking serial
He explains
killer.
later that he knew that,
Yeah.
he was like harboring her ostracization,
Yeah.
that he was like
Well,
making it more and bigger.
He's the guy that grooms like everyone, right?
Yeah.
Like grooms fucking everyone.
Yeah.
So no, but that's
Actually,
a cool
is he a
little bit.
groomer or is he like a take advantage of people? Because actually, I guess he was definitely grooming Satoru.
Yeah, he
That's
was
for sure, right?
for sure.
Yeah.
yeah. Like there's no way when you're trying to manipulate someone, you're not grooming
Yeah.
to a degree, right?
Yeah. Anyways, he's gross.
He is absolutely fucking disgusting.
So there's a scene where Satoru gets like a deja vu thing, which is strange. I don't know if you remember that. And it was like kind of interesting because he's like, in my head, I'm thinking, is he simultaneously making memories and remembering them? Because he's now a 20-year-old, 9-year-old brain in a kid. So he's like experiencing, but also the brain or the spirit rather is from the future. So whatever he changes, is it like an instant change that now he's like, oh yeah, now I remember it that way.
Okay,
now
so
I remember it
I
that
was
way.
wondering when this was going to come
is like a
into
paradox,
play.
right?
This
Yeah.
is the paradox,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like the nice thing about like the time travel piece, I think they got around with because I find time travel is always such a tricky thing with paradoxes.
Yeah.
Right. Like it's kind of like Stainsgate. We haven't done that one yet.
I thought you were telling me some sort of time travel theory. I was like, what's that?
No, Stainsgate is
Yeah.
Steins. I think it's Steinsgate.
Okay, yeah.
It's another anime that we're definitely gonna have to watch because it's a great one. But
Okay.
the whole idea is that you can't just travel back in time,
Right.
right? Because if I travel back, like I say, I built a time machine like this right now,
Yeah.
right, and I go back in time, I would die because the Earth would not be here in this exact spot that I am in space.
Yeah.
Right, because it would just go around and around, and it would be on a different part of its axis, right?
Right.
So it just doesn't work. And there's also like a whole bunch of other paradox theories too, but I'm not going to get into it.
Yeah.
But the nice way of doing this is that they're not going. You're physically not going back in time.
Right.
You're mentally going
Spiritually,
back.
but yeah,
spiritually, like
Yeah.
right. You're just sending your memories back in time.
Yeah, you're right. We've talked about time travel in a couple shows before too, as well, right? And this is another one where, yeah, they did a good job skirting the paradox because it can get squirrely.
Yeah.
Real quick. And the other thing they did in this show that subverts it too is, and this is getting ahead of ourselves, but like they kill the original timeline. He never goes back after a point, right? So you don't have to really wonder how his
Well, he does a little bit because he goes back to the future.
yeah,
Right, where
you're right. There is a
right-
point where he goes forward and then back again.
Yeah.
right? Yeah. But in the end, the original timeline, they killed it off, right?
The-
They don't kill it off, but they don't revisit it in the end.
Yeah, they don't revisit it. It's
Yeah.
like a totally different timeline.
Yeah.
And I think they also do a really good job in the way that, he's in a coma.
Yeah.
And that's how, he doesn't have
He didn't have to have a young adulthood twice.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was kind of neat. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So let's get back into plot. That'll come up again later on. So another cool thing that happens, but it's not really addressed until the end, is that like not only is he going back with this savior complex and trying to like, save these kids that were abducted, but he's also manifesting a richer childhood for himself. You know what I mean? Because he arguably like will admit he had a shit childhood because that happened to him, and he carried all the grief. Right.
Yeah. He was also very much so a loner too.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, he had his little group of friends,
Yeah.
but he wasn't like as confident like how June wanted him to be like, hey, like try being all those things. Like,
And he went back and he was able to do that, right? Super bold, right? And even his friends were like so impressed, like, holy shit, he's got balls today, right?
Yeah.
And he like things like has a birthday party, right? He has a little girlfriend, you know what I mean? And on the topic of birthday party, like, I want a sandwich making themed birthday party. How come that's not a thing? Because that would be fucking amazing. Just lay out all the
the
ingredients.
little finger sandwiches.
Yeah,
I love
I'm gonna
that.
eat a bunch of whole sandwiches, buddy. I'm a grown man. I need a big sandwich.
I don't know. No, but it's different though. I'm gonna go on
Yeah.
a tangent here. If you have a sandwich, like a regular size sandwich, you eat that, and it's like, okay, it's fine because
Yeah.
like I've eaten a sandwich and I'm satisfied.
Yeah.
But like those little kind of tiny tea sandwiches,
Yeah.
I eat like 30 of those.
Yeah.
Right, no problem, thinking that it's fine.
Yeah.
But like I've just eaten like 6 sandwiches in
Are
total.
you defending or are you?
I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm just saying.
Do you like that or not?
Yeah.
I like
Morsels.
Tea, yeah, like
You like to eat like
Yeah.
a bunch of little things
Yeah.
because you can eat more of them without feeling guilty.
Yeah.
Yes, that I agree with. That I definitely agree with.
So that birthday party was like really, again, good vibes. And the other thing, he's not just enriching his childhood; he's also enriching.
Enriching.
Yeah, he's enriching the childhoods of his friends.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? By being a good example and setting, being bold and being a better friend. And in the end, they all tell him that.
Yeah.
They all come back and they're like, I never would have become what I became if it wasn't for the way you were when you were a kid,
Yeah.
right? Which is kind of dope. Okay, so the birthday party is like happy vibes, and you're realizing all this like good childhood things going on. And I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, they're gonna ruin it. They're gonna break my fucking heart. And then they did because Kaio still gets killed.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, he's
Yeah.
supposed to save her.
Yeah.
But again, I like that in the show because they're not just giving me an OP character who goes with a mission and accomplishes the mission, never loses. He suffers a huge loss here.
Yeah.
Right. And he goes back to the future. And but in this version, right, he stops stopped the abduction, and it was Kaio's mom who kills her, right? And he has that realization. He's like, I can change little things, but changing a huge thing is gonna take much more effort for me.
Yeah.
Right. So he ends up getting to go back again, and he goes back and is like, I'm just gonna give it way more effort, and he does, right? So anyways, before that happens, there's a couple scenes in the like present time, and this is where we get more info on Irie,
yeah.
on Irie,
Yeah.
okay, because he's still on the run in this timeline because his mom's still dead and they think he did it, right?
Yep.
And he gets into this like weird situation with his manager who like kind of almost rats him out, and then Irie beats the shit out of him in like a back alley. You know what I mean? And then
Smashes him in the
Yeah,
face.
she
dude.
smokes
I
him.
actually rewound that punch
Yeah.
a few times to watch it over again.
It was a good punch.
It
dude.
was
Yeah.
a great punch.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she's such a badass character.
She really is, dude.
Yeah.
And she's without even knowing much about him, she like sees something in him and is just like on his side, like from the beginning, right?
She's a ride or die.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
So then her house is on fire.
Well, that's because the fucking killer.
The killer, exactly.
set it on
And you
fire,
find
yeah.
out because he had his mom's phone, and he's texting her, and that's how you find out how that's him who did it, right?
Yeah.
Which was like a cool, clever Law and Order SVU kind of thing to do, right? Like that's a very good murdery detective show element. And then in the end, who saves them from fire? It's the fucking punch in the face manager who
Yeah.
comes in and saves the day, right? Which is kind of cool because Ari literally like taught him a lesson with that punch.
And
Well, no,
I
she-
love how he's like, I'm taking credit for this.
Yeah, of course, because he's that character, right? Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Oh my god. Skis ball.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, Satoru in the present goes into like deep investigation mode,
Yeah.
right? Like he's looking through the library on all this, trying to look into all these abductees and trying to figure out who it is. And then he ends up getting arrested because they've been searching for him. And this is where you see the eyes again.
Yeah.
Because he's like getting literally in handcuffs, being taken to the car. He looks over. It's the fucking umbrella. He sees the eyes in his face. He's like, that's it. And then sparkly butterfly. And we're back in 1988
Yeah.
again. The way they set those moments up by like giving you something big before the revival was really fucking clever. Yeah, it was always like well done. So yeah, now his plan in the past is to like push really hard. He's like, I'm just gonna be more intense about this whole thing with Kaio, right? To the point where at one point he contemplates pushing Kaio's mom down the stairs.
Well, that's the thing. That's where
Yeah.
he gets the red eyes, right?
that the one? Okay.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
well, I mean, there's a couple of them too.
Yeah.
Like when he's stuck in the car.
Yeah.
Right, and he gets the red eyes, but he, his buddy, what is it, with the blonde hair? Fuck, I can't remember.
Kenya?
Kenya, yeah, right.
Yeah.
Like is the one like stops him
Yeah,
and like
yeah,
think
yeah.
about the repercussions.
Exactly,
of it,
yeah.
right? Because like this is not.
Yeah.
But he's at that point he's desperate.
Yeah.
he is just desperate.
Totally. But what's cool is he almost made a horrible new move in desperation, and instead he made a good move because his buddy stepped in and he's like, okay, this instead of desperate, like dangerous moves, I'm gonna have to just enlist some help, right? He's like, I'm desperate, I need help. I need you to trust me here, right?
Yeah.
And so now there's this like gang of kids all working hard, right?
Yeah, and totally Goonie-ish.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
Right? Like-
Yeah.
right?
A little bit.
Yeah,
I like
which
that.
I love that.
That whole
Yeah.
gang of kids concept is fun sometimes, right?
Yeah.
I mean, unless they're all magical, in which case I'm annoyed.
I mean, I kind of almost got like a bit of a Stranger Things vibe as well.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, sure.
yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
So yeah, but because Kaio's mom was abusing her, he has this reason to get everyone involved when really his reason is like, I know that she's a target for abduction, right? But he doesn't tell them that, right? He's crafty. Like I said, where it was if it was me, I'm like, she's gonna get abducted and I need all the help I can get. Can you help me? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Instead, he's thinking it through, right? Which
Yeah,
is kind
yeah.
of cool. So they take her to the bus.
Yeah.
Right, they set her up in the bus, which is like I would camp out in a bus for a little while, but then it turns out they're not alone because that's his hideout.
That's-
You know what I
yeah.
mean?
That's where he leaves all his shit.
I know, right? And they find all his shit, and they realize like something dangerous is going on, and he knows everything that's going on, but he's still super crafty about not telling. He's like, oh, a dangerous guy must be coming around here.
Yeah.
He's not like, oh, that's the abductor who's I'm literally trying to catch. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And they find all his shit, and there's this like spray bottle, and they explain how he abducts her in the first place by like spraying some shit on her so she freezes faster, so he can take her away. And I'm like, why though? Just take her. And I'm not trying to like find better ways of abducting, But like that,
That's fucking twisted, man.
I'm not trying to describe better ways of abducting a child, but like she's in the shed, like beaten and down. Like you don't need to spray a freezing liquid. Like I didn't understand why that was written into the show.
I don't know. Maybe just an added layer of fucking.
It was a weird layer.
That's how
viciousness.
he killed her, right? Like he wanted her to die first.
Yeah.
Before he took her away.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess so.
That was his mode of killing
It's
her.
a strange MO.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I guess he's strange. Yeah.
I'm not in the business of rationalizing serial killer
I'm not too,
behavior.
I promise. I swear I'm not. Yeah.
Sorry, bro.
That's
I mean,
okay. I am not. Okay.
glad I think differently. You know?
I think differently too, I promise. I don't want
Oh my god.
Okay, so they there's this crazy confrontation scene with Kaio's mom. They all show up at her house, and they're like basically like, "Hey, don't abuse your kid. You can't be acting like this." And they're waiting for her to like spill the beans because they have child protective services. They have all this shit going on, right?
Yeah.
And she gets fucking owned. And how? Because they bring out her mom, who didn't give her a good childhood, and now she's breaking down.
Yeah.
And like at this point, we're like, Kaio's saved.
Yeah.
Right? We're pretty convinced. Except I'm not 100% convinced because they have betrayed me before. And I'm like, literally now I'm like, I have to steal my heart because at any point they could break my heart again.
Yeah. And then they kind of go into like the montage of fucking trying to save everybody else. Like, I mean, one of the kids is already his buddy, so they just make sure that he's never alone.
For sure.
The other girl who's taking like lessons, like
Exactly.
they were being really creepy about it, but like,
That was very funny sequence of them trying to like talk to this girl who like wanted nothing to do with them.
Yeah.
But then when she shows up at their hideout, because she's like, I had time.
Yeah, exactly.
I loved that scene.
Yeah,
That would put a
but
big
that's
smile
a
on my
very
face.
like Goonies, Stranger Things too, where the cool girl's like, I'm kind of interested now.
Yeah.
I want to see
Yeah.
what's going on.
I
here.
love that.
Yeah. Okay, so then we get the like drive home scene where like the teacher who was there at the like showdown with Kaio's mom is now driving Satoru and her mom home, and that's when the candy falls out of the car.
Yeah.
And that's when I had my what the fuck moment, and Jay was always like already like, come on.
It's when I rolled my eyes at the most.
Yeah, exactly.
I will say though that like the way they filmed that scene, like the candy falls and then the shaky cam starts, and there's just that scene was filmed or not filmed like it's a real thing. That scene was set up in a very effective way.
For sure.
I think.
Yeah.
You know, just the thing that it was revealing.
Yeah.
I already felt like I knew.
Yeah.
But otherwise, good scene.
Yeah.
And again, for someone who didn't realize earlier, the candy falling out and then the reveal shortly after was well played because there wasn't a lot of space between the like, hey, here's your hint. Hey, here it is. Right? Yeah, you know what I mean?
Well, I mean, it's a nice foreshadow too, especially the way that, you know, he tries to fucking kill them, right?
Yeah.
Like in the car, in the same model of car.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah, because he's even like, this isn't even my car.
Yeah. Right. Like
Yeah,
I switched
yeah.
the cars. Like, there's no candy in here.
Yeah.
Right. Like,
Exactly.
you know, like.
He's a twisted fuck.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But the crazy part too at the end, like I mean, I'm gonna jump ahead a little.
That's
bit
okay.
more.
We're getting close.
Yeah, it's like, you know, he becomes so dependent on Satoru, like for his own identity.
Dude, he's obsessed.
Yeah.
Right? To the point where like he doesn't commit another crime until Satoru comes out of his coma. He's like, I couldn't. He's like, I couldn't risk getting caught without finding out how you knew my future and how you knew all my moves. Because just to rewind for a second, he confronts Satoru, puts him in the car, and drives the car off. Like he kills him.
He
Right?
tries to kill him.
Exactly. Right. But he's like, I don't understand how you always know what I'm gonna do.
Yeah.
He's like, I can't handle it anymore. So he's like, yeah, you saved the town. Because I can't commit crimes here anymore because of what you've done, right?
Yeah.
He's like, but you're gonna die. So he drives him into the water, and then we fast forward, and turns out it wasn't effective, right? So like he's been in a coma, and this whole time, like really, again, not trying to find good ways to kill or abduct people, but like he probably should have just gone in the hospital and killed the guy who knew his deepest, darkest secrets. But because of his obsession, he wouldn't allow himself to.
Yeah.
He needed to get the answers.
Well, it's the thing though. Like Satoru was the first person to make him feel seen as a person.
Yeah.
Right. Like as the whole, like where he has this one side of him that he keeps secret from the entire world because it's so vicious and gross, and now he feels seen. It's almost this odd sense of love.
It is like,
Right?
yeah, it's like a
Like,
dependency, like,
And like being fulfilled,
Yeah.
and like having that sense of belonging fulfilled.
Yeah.
Right?
But
Like-
it's also like a hole. Like, yeah, exactly. Like there's a hole left by when he goes into the coma, right?
Yeah.
So like if he had just done and killed him, that dude probably would have just gone on being a horrible person in the same way. But instead, when he came alive, he's like, oh, now I've created this void. Do you know what I mean? I didn't just eliminate the problem and get to go on being me. I like created this situation where like now I need to find out what the fuck was going on, right?
Yeah.
And it harbored in him until he had to come back.
Yeah.
And so he shows up at the hospital.
Yeah.
Right?
Right. Like he kind of had this weird sense of like this kid's like my soulmate in some weird way.
Yeah, in a weird, it's
Right.
like completion.
Our
a puzzle
destinies
piece.
are
Yeah,
intertwined.
intertwined. Yeah.
Okay, so he comes back to the hospital, and there's this funny scene where these two guys are like paparazzi in the bushes.
Yeah.
They're like, "Oh, how great! We'll write an article that he came out of his coma and now he's a pedophile." Right? And I'm thinking, I had like, what a bunch of creeps. And then like this actual fucking creep comes out of the bushes from behind them.
Yeah.
It's like,
and owns them.
yeah, exactly. And he puts these two fucking little he's like, "You guys don't know anything about being a creep. Get the fuck out of here." It was just kind of funny. And then there's the showdown, dude. Like there's this crazy situation where now like Satoru and has his buddies back, and they're like just right back where they left off in this scheming mode, except now they're all adults, and one of them's a lawyer, and they have all these skills.
Okay, but how like unsatisfied? Like I like the way that they did play it. I think it was intellectually really good, but
Yeah.
emotionally, when Caillou ended up with what's his name?
Oh, just somebody else, you mean?
No, it was one of his friends.
Oh, was it?
Yeah,
And they have a baby, you mean?
They have a baby.
Yeah.
And like
It was the other abduction
yeah,
victim.
oh, fuck.
What was his
Wasn't
name?
that a girl? The other
Hiromi.
version? Oh, okay.
No, it wasn't a girl. Like, he just kind of had like
Okay.
like young.
Hiromi
but here's
appeared
the question
feminine,
then.
Yeah,
but
feminine.
was actually a boy.
Oh, I remember. Okay. Here's the question then. What would you have wanted? Do you want him to end up with Kaio?
Well,
Because I didn't want that.
Well, okay, so here's
And
the
I was
thing.
glad I didn't get it. Sorry, go ahead.
That's what I'm saying, right? Like intellectually, this is much better writing.
Yeah.
This is much better writing.
Yeah.
But like for me, it's like I don't know where the reward was at that point in the show.
Yeah.
Where I felt like he put in so much effort where like again he wanted him to be rewarded.
The
for that.
reward.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree, dude. Where does that leave our main character in that moment?
Yeah.
As far as what he gets out of all of this.
Yeah.
He obviously gets a little bit of his mental health back and he releases himself of this trauma. But now what? He just is going to be in this hospital for a little while and then he's got to go back out to his life and
Yeah,
just
but dude, what
deliver
he wanted
pizzas.
all I can't believe I'm fucking defending an anime against you two. What he wanted, dude.
It's just a thing I felt a little weird about as well. That's all. Just a weird choice.
But what he wanted all along, dude, was that remember we talked about how he carries this guilt and he carries this grief. So his reward is he gets to relinquish that grief and guilt because he actually got to make good on it.
Yeah, but you also like I
That's
mean,
a reward.
In the whole damn show, you fucking ship the two, right?
I was going to say, yeah, why all the romantic tension between them?
Because they're
Yeah.
children. And that's part of the reason why now I'm going to go back and say that's part of the reason why the get a grip you're 29 thing comes into play.
Yeah.
Because as a child, yeah, of course, there's romantic interest, but as a grown man, like you know that's fleeting. Like no 11-year-old ends up with that person for life. Like that's not a real life shit.
Yeah, you like I said, I agree that this is better writing in the way that they presented it.
Yeah.
Like intellectually, it's just that I guess there's a little element of Hollywood where
Well, here-
like you just kind of sometimes want that little bit of a happy ending in that kind of sense.
I hear you. And here's the thing is
Yeah.
you still get it. Because in
Yes,
the end,
I
after
know you
everything goes
do.
down, who does he walk into in the very last scene?
Yeah.
Irie, okay.
But she's technically underage at that point too.
I don't know how old she is. He's 29.
Yeah, he's 29. I think she's like 17.
I don't know if they say.
How senpai? Can you look that up for me, please?
Yeah, I'll look that up.
I also,
Yeah.
I don't know. But the point is that like he still gets it. He just
Yeah.
gets it in a way that's more appropriate. And what's I liked about that too, we're jumbling the ending here. But what I like
Yeah.
about that too is Aerie was an important character in the show.
Yeah.
But to close off the other timeline like they did,
Mm-hmm.
they didn't give her an ending. And I was like, I don't want them just to end up together because like I don't want them just to magically get back together or something.
Yeah.
But they did have this mechanism written early on in the show where he can only change the future so much.
Yeah.
So what's cool is in the end they run into each other. You realize that like, okay, well like obviously he couldn't change that much about his life that he's not going to run into the same people.
Yeah.
But they also didn't just give you a relationship between the two of them.
Yeah.
They gave you her walking back in and then they closed it off and I was like, okay. Everything's wrapped up.
It could be like they're platonic friends at the end. We don't know if they actually.
Yeah.
Yes, we do. Oh, the final scene takes place several years after Satoru wakes up. So by that point, she's 21.
Okay.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah. There you go.
Okay.
So anyways, I much prefer the way they wrote it to him ending up with Kaio. In fact, there were a few times that I wrote and thought to myself, like, I actually really hope they don't end up together.
Yeah.
I did not want that to happen.
I don't disagree.
Yeah.
I just wish that they had spent a little less time establishing romantic tension between the two of them in the rest of the show.
Him and
Because
Irie, you mean?
No,
him and Kaio.
Him and Kaio.
Sorry, you want them to spend less time on that?
Yeah.
Okay,
don't,
fair enough.
Don't do it then. Like, don't make a concerted effort to insert that into the show.
Yeah.
To not give us a payoff on it.
I-
That felt like a waste of time in the end to me. Actually, if anything.
Okay. If I can make one more point to defend it, and then you can tell us to shut the fuck up because we're getting in the weeds. It's that, like, if part of what his goal was in going back in time was to enrich his childhood, by having a girlfriend in that childhood, you know what I mean? It does enrich his friendship, like his life, his friendship with his friends. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? He has that little boy experience of like having that, which in the original timeline, he never had that.
Yeah.
So he was just having these child experiences. The fact that they didn't then flesh out later in life was fine to me because when you're a child, they don't.
Yeah.
But they do make you a better human because you have those experiences,
Yeah,
right?
so that's the only. I would agree more so with Jordy on that one.
That makes
because-
perfect sense.
Yeah,
That makes perfect
right?
sense.
Because things aren't always going to be resolved in that way. And
For
like
sure.
I said, it's just a weird little bias kind of thing for me.
Yeah.
Where it's just kind of like that's where I kind of felt like it was going, and I kind of wish it kind of had that little bit of payoff. But I'm really glad it didn't.
Yeah.
And I know it's better writing.
Well, and remember, he can't
yeah.
change the past that much
No.
anyways, right? Which is probably the reason why he had to go in a coma.
Yeah.
Because he can't now assert himself in his friends' lives for
Yeah.
20 years because in the original timeline, he wasn't in their lives for 20
Yep.
years. He was out of their lives, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was just
a
an
very
it was
good
an
way.
odd, it was just an odd choice because like
Sure.
and we can move on immediately after
Okay, yeah,
this. I'm really
yeah.
sorry.
I'm done now, so you go.
Just because like it almost implies that like a young boy and a young girl are incapable of having a meaningful relationship when they're young without it being somewhat romantic.
I hear what
You know
you're
I mean?
saying.
And if you're
I
gonna,
do
and
hear
if
what
you're
you're
gonna
saying.
take that line of thought, then I'd also assume that you'd end up thinking that they would end up together in the end, and that love would also endure.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like if you're gonna commit to that. Commit
Commit to it, yeah.
If you're not, then let's not. You know what
hear.
I mean? If they're not going to end up together,
Yeah.
then don't give me all the romantic stuff that means nothing. Don't give me the foxes.
Yeah,
You know
that
what I
was
mean?
weird. The Foxes was one of the weirdest
Yeah,
scenes in the
yeah.
show. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Especially
But
because the
it's-
implication is that foxes are lifelong partners. They mate for life.
Yeah, I didn't catch up on that, but that is interesting. Yeah, I guess in the end, I just had a different. I see your point, and I understand 100% where you're coming from.
Just an odd choice.
Yeah.
That's
I had a
all I'm
different-
saying.
yeah.
You know what? You know what? I think it would have been if it was more like an unrequited.
Oh, like if he was kind of into it and she was just not having it. Sure.
Like that,
Yeah.
then I would have been more satisfied in that sense because it's kind of like how Naruto, like you haven't watched it yet, but Naruto and Sakura, right? Like he's so into
True.
this girl, but like he's like, I know it's not going to work because she's in love with somebody else.
Yeah.
But and so it's like, so then that emotional tension is a bit more justified.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But I do get it. Like it's still a fucking phenomenal
Yeah,
show to watch,
totally, yeah.
especially for like an easy 12 episodes.
Yeah.
Right? Do
Yeah.
that. You can do that in a night.
I
No
did
problem.
it in 2, and the second night
Yeah.
I think I only had like 2 episodes left.
Yeah.
So I did it pretty quickly. Yeah.
What I will say is, if you are going to watch this, take care of yourself.
Yeah.
Take breaks if you need to.
Yeah.
One thing I will say about this show, and maybe it was just me, but like, I did feel a lot of anxiety watching it.
It's a stressful watch.
At different times.
Yeah, for sure.
I felt, a lot of like not positive feelings as I
Yeah.
watched this show. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? And like, part of me getting through this show and anticipating the end and being excited for the end was the release of all of that. You know what I mean? And to not have to feel this like
Yeah.
scared tension from this show. You know what I mean? Which on one hand makes it a tough watch and something you got to kind of be prepared for.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, makes it incredibly successful.
Yeah.
At what it was trying to do. Very clearly, it was trying to do that.
Yeah,
It was trying to
totally.
elicit that reaction.
Well, and like coming from a person who doesn't have the same type of trauma in my lived experience, everyone getting a happy ending in the end was nice and releasing and comfortable for the ending of the show. But someone maybe who does have that kind kind of trauma in their life, watching it end all happy and like flowery and nice in the end might be really hard to watch.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
because
no, I
it
hear
doesn't
you.
really always end up like that.
No, it's
Yeah,
it's true.
unless you see magical like shimmering butterflies and get to go back in time, you might not have this ending, right?
But here, I just want to give a huge shout out to fucking Satoru's mom for taking care of his body
Yeah.
for like
Hell
for
yeah.
that long and like
Insane.
enduring all of that shit,
Yeah.
right? Like giving up everything because I'm telling you, man, waifu.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I hear you.
Straight up, man.
Yeah.
She's a fucking like powerhouse.
Yeah. And actually, like, I like the idea of a waifu based on integrity more than I like a waifu based on opis.
What about both?
Yeah, what about both?
I'm listening.
Yeah. Now we're talking. Yeah. Now we're talking.
All right, let's wrap up.
Okay.
Do any of you guys want to go first? Or
Yeah,
let's let Jay go last.
Yeah. Okay.
Let's let Jay go last. I'm going to give it a solid 8 out of 10.
8 out of 10.
Great show, really well written. I was again, I'm the mark for a show like this. It got me. The reason I can't give it any more is because it's not a genre that I typically gravitate to. So like, I'm not gonna rewatch it necessarily. I'm not falling in love with it, but it was really enjoyable. So 8 out of 10.
Yeah, that's a solid number.
Yeah,
Nice.
Thanks.
Good, man. Good.
I would give it like an 8.5.
Yeah, always got to one up me.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah,
Honestly, just because of the way that I consumed it.
Yeah.
And like when I'm watching it on a simulcast, it's just that anticipation that it gave me. Like I really love that feeling of being able to like oh, okay, like I can be getting excited to see that show next week, right?
Yeah.
Every week.
Interesting.
Right? So I gave that extra bit of 0.5 for that.
hell yeah.
Yeah.
Jay, how low are you gonna go?
What I will say is I watched this kind of on the heels of another very intellectual mystery thriller show.
Yeah.
Legendary show called Death Note.
What's that?
Oh, strange.
Okay.
Strange that we
Which I
did
think
that.
undeniably goes out of its way to twist and turn the audience far more than this one does.
Sure,
this one
yeah.
is a lot more straightforward mystery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? So maybe it was for that reason, but I gotta subtract some points for the fact that I feel like I clocked who the killer was so early. It
Yeah.
did kind of
Throw
fuck
you
up
off
a
a
lot
little
of
bit?
the rest of the show, man. It was too
Yeah.
early. I knew too early. And
Yeah.
it bugs me that that's a reason for
You're
it.
just too damn smart, Jay.
Yeah, Fuck, I know, man. I'm sorry.
Stop it.
The other reason that I subtract. I try.
Yeah.
Do as many as I can. The other reason I would subtract points is because it was hard for me to watch at some
Yeah.
points.
Yeah.
Like I did feel some anxiety watching it, and I felt some gross feelings watching it, and I didn't enjoy feeling those things necessarily.
Fair.
Maybe that's just because maybe this type of thing isn't for me. You know, generally as a genre, this isn't up my alley either.
Yeah.
But because it was so well put together and so successfily done, and this doesn't sound like a high score, but I'm gonna give it a 6.5.
It's a pass.
What?
It's a pass.
What? Come on. You got 6.5?
Yeah, cool.
At least a 7.5.
No, because if I gave it
At least.
if I gave it a point back for the killer, knowing who the killer was,
Yeah.
and for the trauma this show caused me,
Sure, yeah.
that would still only give it an 8.5, which
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
I think a very fair rating.
Sure.
So if
Yeah.
I subtract a point each for those two things,
Yeah.
which I think are a fair amount of points to subtract.
I'll accept a 7 from you. Even a 7. 7.5. Fuck it.
Okay, here's what
Jay,
I'll
shut up. You gave it a 7.5 now.
here's what I'll give you. 6.5.
And on that note, my friends, thank you for
Fuck.
tuning in.
Yeah, wait, before we go, Jay, where can people find you?
At Hanger91 at Hanger.91 on Instagram.
Hell yeah.
And
I'm wearing it right now on my head.
and Hanger91.bigcartel.com to pick up all your merch and anime nerd shit.
Get dope
Yeah.
shit. It's comfy and it looks fucking dope as hell.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Where can they find you, Jordy?
I'm at Reaching In on Instagram, and you can see the shit that I do there if
Yeah.
you care at all.
Yep. And Korean Barbecue 86. I have cats. I have toys. Yeah, say hi.
Tell us we're cute.
We love you.
Love
We
you.
do love you.
Okay, bye, Shweebs.
See you later, Shweebs.
Bye-bye.
Peace.
Bye.